mais bonito com o boné virado pra frente.
All right. The attendance, hello? Test, test, test. Can you hear me? No? Hello? Hello? Attendance was 10,040. The gates, 2.3 million. Fight of the night was Werdum versus Nelson. KO was Thompson. And Dustin won the submission. $65,000 each for those guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Who's first? Hopefully your mic works. Kevin Ioli, right here up front. Is there a mic?
Hi, Dana.
Hey, buddy.
Hello. Good night. Do you agree with the results tonight?
Do I agree with what?
With the results tonight, Nick Diaz and Carlos Condit fight.
Yeah, I do. I actually had it scored. I had the first 2 rounds for Diaz and the last 3 for Condit.
And what do you think about the quality of judges, in MMA?
I think it's a problem. I think it's rough. But I'll tell you what. A lot of people were telling me that. First of all, I didn't expect the fight to be as technical as it was. I thought these two were going to go in there and go at it, and it was very, Hagler-Leonard-like, this fight, which those type of fights are sometimes hard to score. But that's how I had it scored. I gave Diaz the first 2 rounds, and I gave Condit the last 3. I'm not a judge, though, so who gives a shit what I think?
Do you think maybe the problem is like the guy, is a judge?
Do we seriously not have microphones? How's this possible? How is this possible that these microphones are not working? Who has the answer to this question for me? How are we at a press conference right now with no microphones? What's your next question?
My question is about for example, the guy is a judge. His background is boxing, and he, is a judge in MMA. He have nothing to do with MMA, and he come to, be a judge in MMA. He's a boxer. He judge boxing.
Pissed, man. Did you think Nick Diaz won the fight?
Yeah, I thought he won the first 3 rounds, and Condit won the last 2.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be one of those fights that people are going to score differently. I think because of the style in which Condit fought.
Now we just lost.
I think that this is going to be a tough one to score.
We used to have them. Now we don't have them.
Thank you, Dan.
There we go. There we go. That guy with the hat.
You referenced this a little bit, Dana. You said it wasn't the style of fight that you fought, but did you feel like a lot of the fans on the internet are upset? And I know you don't hate them or anything, but they're upset. They think because Diaz was going forward that he should have won the fight. And I just wanted to get your take on that. It seemed like Condit did effective striking even though he was moving.
There's no doubt about it. And again, this is my opinion, and there'll be 50 million other opinions. There's no doubt about it that Nick won the first 2 rounds by moving forward and being the aggressor. But the difference is he was being the aggressor and throwing tons of punches that were landing. And in the 4th round, I'm pretty sure it was the 4th. I remember him not really throwing anything, and he looked frustrated to me in the 4th round. And that's how I scored the fight. I had Diaz winning the first 2 and Condit winning the last 3.
Yeah, and that's how I had it. Just curious how disappointing it is to not have that Diaz St. Pierre fight. You tried to make that now, 3 times if he would have won tonight. I mean, it's just that was a fight that seemed like everybody was desperate for.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you can't get upset about stuff like that. You put 2 guys in there, 2 of the best in the world to fight for the opportunity to fight the absolute best in the world, and whoever wins, wins. I don't get upset about it or worry about stuff like that. Condit won, he gets the next shot.
In kind of building off of that, you said he gets the next shot. There was some talk that maybe, depending on GSP's length of time off, that maybe Carlos would be willing to fight again. Is that something you'd want to risk at all, or would you advise him to, let's wait for GSP and see what happens?
I don't ever think that anything's risky. I think that if you really believe that you are one of the best in the world, why would you not want to stay active? I like guys staying active and fighting. As far as I know, Carlos came out of this fight with no injuries, and went good 5 rounds, was in great shape. He could defend his interim title and then fight GSP. Because I don't know how long GSP is going to be out.
I assume we'll have Carlos at some point tonight, but obviously it doesn't seem like we're going to get Nick. I know a lot of people want to talk to him. Can you talk about, I guess, was it his decision to not be here, and if you supported that, or kind of how you feel about it?
Yeah, he didn't want to come. What am I going to do? I mean, you know how the kid feels about press conferences when he's in a great mood. You know what I mean? I'm going to argue with him when he's in a horrible mood to come over here. And, you have to come. You have to come to the pre-fight press conferences. You have to do that, guys. There's a lot of times when there's guys that don't want to come to the post-fight that I'll say, yeah, okay, let them go. It happens.
Absolutely. If I could, one for Josh, please. Obviously, a tough fight tonight. Obviously, very closely contested throughout. I know you thought you had, quite a bit of an edge on Mike, but can you talk about afterwards? Was he a little bit more than you expected?
Yeah, I kind of knew that coming into this fight it was going to be a slow pace. He was going to put me up against the cage and kind of try to get out a decision. So, I really, to be honest, I didn't really have too much hype to fight him. I just was like, all right, we'll fight. So, and it showed tonight. But he came out and fought well, and I pulled it out, I think, with just the wrestling aspect of it at the end of the rounds there, and got the takedowns. So, it is what it is. I since the GSP fight, I've only fought. It's been about 1.5 years now. I've only fought, a total of 4 minutes. So I think it was good for me to get in there and get a good 15 minutes back in and get my groove going and get my pace. And so I'm looking for the next opportunity to fight again.
And just one final one for you, Josh. You started to mention the complications in your training camp. Can you talk maybe a little bit about kind of what's going on with that situation, what it means for you going forward, and just what the status of all that is right now?
I'll be training out of Fresno from now on, so I'm no longer affiliated with some of the people at the gym that I've been training at. So it was a tough camp, knowing that this is my last camp there. So I'm going to do my own thing.
First of all, Dana, over here. Dana?
Yep,
In the
I
middle?
can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So Diaz and Condit were the huge focus leading up to this event, but Nelson and Werdum really shined. Can you comment what you thought of each of their performances?
Of whose?
Of Nelson and Werdum?
Yeah, oh yeah. No, Werdum looked awesome tonight. I think it's the best I've ever seen him look. We all know how tough Roy Nelson is. Roy Nelson hits hard too. And Fabricio looked like that clinch, looked like the old shootbox clinch. His stand-up looked fantastic. He looked very, very good.
I don't think Mir has a matchup right now. What do you think of Mir and Werdum and possibly for the next contender?
I don't know. We'll see. Anything's possible.
Hey guys, Ron Kruk with Inside MMA. Quick question for Dana. Dana, after the fight, Nick Diaz announced that he was retiring. Did you speak to him about that? Do you think that's actually going to happen?
No, I didn't talk to him. I think Nick is, Nick's upset. Nick 100% believes he won the fight, and he's upset about it. I think he's, I think once he goes home and relaxes and calms down, Nick Diaz is a fighter. I don't see Nick Diaz retiring, but who knows? It's one of those things too. This is one of those sports you want to be half in and half out. I don't know what I want to do. If that's the way you feel, you probably should retire.
Does he have another fight on his contract?
I believe so, yeah. We just did a new deal with him when we bought Strikeforce.
Question for Fabricio Werdum. Congratulations, big win tonight. Your striking, I thought, was the difference in that fight. Would you talk about that and just the fight in general, please?
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy, guys, because I'm training a lot for this fight. The clinch done is King's MMA, the clinch. It's okay? You say the shoot box? Yeah, I like because I prove my stand-up too. I'm training every day Muay Thai. The guys say, Fabricio, you know, training jiu-jitsu, you black belt, but no, I'm training every day. I teach every day in my gym. I put my gi. The gi is very important to put the gi because put the gi is, I don't know, but the gi is, you put the gi is very technical training. I just show for you guys. I'm very happy. I just show for you the happy face. Thank you.
For Ed Herman over here. Ed, congratulations on your win tonight. You beat a guy tonight who was undefeated. He had a tough first round. What do you think, putting together these 3 amazing wins, 3 finishes, do you think anything's changed since you came back from your injury and your layoff?
I think I just matured as an athlete, and you don't realize what you have until you almost lose it. Being out a couple years with injury, so I just enjoy being here the whole week here. I think the nerves are less, and I'm just pumped to be here and fighting again and having a second chance in my career.
Question for Dana White. Dana, obviously you're going to have to track Nick Diaz down, let him settle down, as you said, and then...
Is this for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is it?
Obviously, as you said, you're going to let Nick Diaz settle down, get over the results in a sense. Is it you that will speak to him to bring him back? And do you think Josh Koscheck would be a good opponent for him next when you bring him back?
Yeah, I think that would be a great fight. I don't know. We'll see if I'm the one to talk to. I don't think it's my, when guys come to me and want to talk to me, I do, but I think this is his team, his guys that he's been with his whole life, and that need to talk to him about this. And I think he's just emotional right now, and I think we'll see him again.
Question for Dana here. Dana, you mentioned in the press conference before the fight that you were going to talk to Anderson Silva about the fight with Sonnen. Do you have something about it that you could tell us?
It's on.
Is signed already?
It's not signed, but it's verbally agreed to.
Okay.
A couple questions for Dustin. Dustin, congratulations to your right. What was that kind of how you saw the fight playing out? I mean, getting him down and looking for that armbar and getting the submission?
I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew I was ready for anything that was going to happen. I really thought it was going to be a back-and-forth stand-up fight, but I thought it was going to be a lot slower of a pace when we started off. I didn't expect him to come chin down banging like that, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more methodical, feeling out. But he had nothing to lose, and he came in there and threw a lot of punches and kept the pressure on me. So I had to close the distance and take him down and finish it.
Really seems like you're a guy that's worked your way to the top of the division. Kind of, how close do you feel like you are and ready to challenge for the title, possibly?
I feel like I'm pretty close, but I just don't want to. I was not ready to rush it. And when I fight for the title, I want to be 100% ready. And I feel like I'm maturing every fight. I'm getting better every fight. I just turned 23 years old 2 weeks ago, and I have a lot of improving to do. I'm in the gym every day, 6 days a week, and I have a lot of growing to do. Like I said, when I do fight for that title, I want to take it and I want to hold it for a long time. So I'm just taking my time and building it up, fight by fight, getting better every day.
Dana, Sonnen and Silva, when, where? Do you have any details on that, or is it just all pending?
June in Brazil. I don't have exact dates or places yet, but June in Brazil.
I have a question for Werdum. Werdum, you seem to use your height really well for this fight and to land a lot of knees and front kicks as well. Was that part of the game plan going in?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm just keep going the smart game. I want the victory for sure. This is the plan game. For sure, I'm just go the right side. I'm try the right side. I'm kick a lot. I'm just put the knee. This is I'm just training 3 months. I like this one.
And lastly, about Roy, did you expect him to tire? Was that also part of the game plan? Was to push him to the later rounds?
I don't understand. Say again, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, my voice. Did you expect him to get tired? Was that an expectation of yours?
Tire?
Tired. Did you expect him to tire?
Him or me?
Him.
No.
Did you expect that Roy was going to get tired?
Yeah, no, but I don't know. I know so because I just saw the strong punch. Roy Nelson have a good punch, strong hand. I saw the number round number 3. I saw he tired. With the hand, he grabbed me in the clinch. I don't see a lot of power. He tired. I saw, but I like because I'm just my feeling. When I see he tired, I'm try the punch or the kick. I'm try the knockout for him. Entendi. fazia parte com certeza, mas o que aconteceu na luta foi o que a gente programou para fazer, né? Com certeza a gente tinha esse plano também, mas o que a gente fez na luta foi isso, foi exatamente o que aconteceu.
What happened in the fight was exactly what I planned to do. I was looking to get him tired for sure, but I was more focused on my technique and on my game plan.
Okay, thank you.
Hey guys, sorry about the guys don't speak English very well.
It's a lot better than my Portuguese, my friend.
You
Trust
talk
me.
with me in the gym is good, but now you're
Yeah.
killing me.
I tricked you. One question for Stephen Thompson, please. Stephen, being from South Carolina as well myself, I know it's not a hotbed for MMA there. Tell me a little bit about how you feel about fighting on the big show and having such an outstanding debut.
Wow, this is my first fight with the UFC, and Dana White, everybody's taking really good care of me. This is the biggest stage in the world and the biggest promotion in the world. Coming from a small town in South Carolina, this is huge. I've never done a press conference before, but this is a dream come true. I'm just gonna go back and train harder, and hopefully I'll be able to fight again with the UFC. So I love it.
Dana, question for you. If Carlos chooses to fight, who would be in the mix? Any idea for who would be if he does go?
I haven't even thought about it.
And what are going to be the factors, in terms of whether you make that decision, whether you wait till he goes off in November? I guess George said yesterday he couldn't train for a fight until at least July.
Yeah, no, George, George has been rehabilitating and he's been doing great. He's on track, but he's still far from being ready. He said that he hurt his knee tonight when he won. He said he jumped out of his seat and hurt his knee tonight. So. We'll see what happens. We'll see how he feels, Carlos. I mean, and we'll see what Carlos says. We'll give Carlos some time to go home, relax, heal up, enjoy his family, and then figure out what he wants to do.
Carlos, congratulations on winning the fight tonight. First of all, was your game plan with all those kicks to try to maybe slow Nick down so he wasn't going to be able to, he has a tendency to walk guys down, and maybe if you chop the kicks, it might slow that attack down?
Absolutely. Nick Diaz's pace is, second to none. He likes to walk guys down, like you said, and so affecting his mobility, chopping down his legs and taking his wheels out from under him was a big part of the game plan.
And in the early part when he was landing a lot of those blows, I mean, do you ever have any self-doubt in there saying, well, maybe I should try something else, just because as you're trying that, he was landing, he was coming forward a lot in the first two rounds and landing a lot of those shots?
They weren't all that effective. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think. I haven't seen the fight, but for the most part, if he did hit me with anything, it was like kind of past his power zone, and it was just didn't have a lot on it.
Did you, as you're waiting for the decision, was there any doubt in your mind? Were you going like, hey, did I get this or not?
No. I was pretty confident that I had won the fight.
And just two other quick questions, and if I may, question whether you would fight again before George is ready. I know it's right after the fight, and it's probably not fair to ask you this, but do you feel like you might want to take another fight, assuming George isn't back till close to the end of the year?
That's something that I have to discuss with my coaches and my management team. So I don't have an answer for you right now, honestly.
You sound like Dana. And then lastly, on the internet, there's a lot of people that are complaining that you quote unquote ran and that they were unhappy with your performance in the fight. And I wonder, how you react to hearing people say that.
I won the fight. I landed a lot of effective strikes. I stuck to my game plan. I did what I went in there to do. If I sat there and fought Nick Diaz's fight, it would probably be him sitting here with this belt instead of me. But I did what I came to do. I did what I trained to do, and You know, I hit him, I punched him in the face and kicked him in the face, and you know, landed more effective strikes than he did in the fight. And you know, that's what it boils down to.
Dana, did you speak with GSP after the fight, and what was his reaction?
No, I didn't talk to GSP after the fight.
Carlos, you had said before this fight that this was going to be a dog fight. Do you think the performance lived up to that?
Well, I haven't seen the fight, but you know, if I would have, like I said, you know, if I would have fought Diaz's fight and brawled, you know, I probably, you know, wouldn't have won the fight. I did what my coaches told me to do, and you know, I walked away with the win.
Dana and Renan, with an unbelievable win streak going, is there a Dominic Cruz fight in the near future?
Can you repeat, please? I wasn't paying attention. I thought it was for Dana, sorry.
Happens to me all the time.
Just with his unbelievable win streak going, I'm sorry, is there a possibility of Dominic Cruz fight in the near future?
Com certeza. O objetivo é esse, é lutar pelo título. E quem tiver com título, eu quero lutar. Se for Dominic Cruz, se for outro, o objetivo é o título.
Yes, he said my objective is to fight for the belt, whoever it is, Dominic Cruz or whoever stands online, I'm here for it.
Hey, congratulations, Carlos. This question is for you. What was Nick saying to you during the fight? How did you respond to that? What did you think of it?
Well, one of the things, I threw a spinning back fist or something. He told me, so we're throwing spinning shit now? and I kind of just, you know, I had to crack a smile at that one. Just told him, yep, yeah, I'm doing what you know. Yes, I am.
And so was there any point ever, though, that it was getting under your skin to any degree or inspiring you more?
No, I planned for that. I knew that I had to be mentally prepared as well as physically prepared to fight Nick Diaz. He's a tough guy. You know, I hit him with some hard shots, and he just kept coming. So that's something I had in my mindset, as well as the talking and the taunts and stuff, that I just needed to stay focused and you know, continue to execute my game plan, no matter what he said or no matter how many punches he took from me. You know, I couldn't you know, let my focus stray.
Nice. So anybody at Jackson's camp taunt you during your practices? You know, get John Jones talking some smack to you? No.
You know, actually, John hasn't been at the gym for a little bit, but yeah, you know, actually, I've had some training partners, you know, doing a very, very good Nick Diaz impression lately.
Nice. And lastly, Dana, this is for you. What did you think about the 2-point deduction for Alex Caceres during his fight?
I'd never seen it before, but you know, not that I know anything about, you know, regulation, but I talked to Lorenzo, and Lorenzo said that was normal. He was warned twice, and then they took 2 points. You know, yeah, flagrant foul. Yeah, so I'd never seen it before, but when you're in a 3-round fight and you get 2 points taken away, it's tough. It's tough to win.
Carlos, you talked about you know, remaining focused throughout. The first 2 rounds were obviously very, very close. It was kind of difficult to see who was winning. Was there, you know, what was the key, I guess, to sticking to the game plan? Was it your belief in it? Was it, you know, your coaching instruction? What was it? Because it just wasn't sure if it was going your way through the opening 2 rounds.
Well, I felt like it was working. You know, I wasn't letting him back me straight up into the cage. You know, he had a few moments there where, you know, he was able to do his thing. But, you know, for the most part, I was staying out of the way of his punches, staying out of the way of his combinations. And, you know, like I said earlier, chopping his legs and, you know, affecting his mobility, you know, from the very start was working. You know, you don't see the effects of that till later on in the fight, but he stopped coming forward on me. And, you know, I was landing what I needed to do to basically, you know, executing the game plan.
And you mentioned earlier there was just kind of a surreal feeling in getting the belt. Now that you've had a few minutes, has it set in at all? And kind of what's your emotional standpoint right now?
No, it hasn't quite set in. You know, I need a little bit of time to process, but I feel good. You know, I'm after fights. You know, it's done. All the pressure's gone. You know, I trained for 6 months. Had a lot of different opponents lined up, and to walk away with the win is feels pretty good.
This question's for Dustin. Dustin, you were scheduled to fight Eric Koch, which many people figured was maybe a step towards the featherweight belt. Is that a fight that you still want, or do you think that the win over Holloway elevates you beyond Eric Koch?
No, that's a fight I definitely still want. I think I'll improve a lot in that fight, and it'll be a tough fight, a battle, and I'll learn a lot about myself in that fight. He's going to push me. He's very well-rounded. I think that fight, we're probably going to end up fighting one day. I'd like that fight, or the Korean Zombie. I'd also like that fight. Two guys on good win streaks, so we'll just see what happens.
All right. And for Dana, Karyn kind of brought it up with Carlos, but I wanted to get your thoughts. What did you think about Carlos's ability to remain poised in the cage and not get buy into Nick's game plan of taunting to make to fight Nick's fight?
Yeah, no, I was talking about it earlier actually. I think he did a great job. I think there's a couple of times where Nick got to him and he started trading with Nick when they did it, and then he got right back into his game plan and stayed on the outside, picking them apart and landing shots. He did. He just like he said, he kept his poise, stayed calm, and didn't buy into it.
Questions for Josh Koscheck, to pretty much straight ahead to your right there, Josh, back here. When the question was asked to Dana, he said he'd like to fight. If Nick Diaz was offered, would you entertain that bout?
Yeah, definitely. Why not? He's a tough guy. So, and this apparently was the one of the number one contender fight. So, it'd be a good fight.
Question for Carlos as well. When you and I spoke on Wednesday, the sense post-interview was, we got that, don't be surprised if I spoil the party. How satisfied, because all the focus was so much on Nick and or on GSP that people were sort of sweeping you aside and almost counting you out. How satisfied do you feel now?
Well, honestly, my whole career, people have been underestimating me and kind of counting me out of fights. And I think that I've made a pretty good run at beating the odds and and beating and finishing, for the most part, guys that were supposed to beat me and guys that I had no chance against. So I think that this is just another instance. And I don't feel like anybody disrespected me. Diaz gave me my due. George gave me my due. But George wants to fight Nick, and that's so. Like I said in the pre-fight press conference, I don't take it personal. He's got a legitimate beef against him, and I understand that.
And also at the pre-fight press conference, I think your eyebrows raised when you were told the winner would get a new Harley Davidson. I don't know if you saw it over there. What are your thoughts on winning a new Harley?
Pretty stoked. I don't ride bikes, but I guess I got to learn, huh?
Hello, this question is for Fabricio. Excuse me. Fabricio, can you tell us what was behind the whole pointing to the mat? Were you just a little levity, or were you trying to set up a high kick?
When I say this,
When you're pointing to the mat when you're in your fight.
I'm just trying to knock down him. But just fake it, yes, just one fake. Just one joking. Like a joke, yes. That's it. I got it to jab across when I got it, yes.
Give him the mic and let him say. I want to know the answer to this too.
Hey, my
I thought he was saying your shoes untied. I thought he was trying to do that shit to him.
Não, eu só fiz como foi uma brincadeira, mas se ele acreditasse na brincadeira, eu ia tentar nocautear ele.
I did to try to distract him. So if you look to that point, I was going to kick his head.
And my last question is for both Dustin and Steven. UFC 145 is coming up. If somebody happens to fall off that card, would you guys be up for fighting pretty close to home?
Definitely. I mean, you know, Atlanta's like 2 hours away from where I live. So, I mean, if that was possible, you know, if UFC wants me to do that, then definitely I would definitely do that, fight in Atlanta. So, you know, got a big crew, got a big fan base there, and definitely fill up some seats. So.
If they wanted me to fight, I'd probably take a fight. But I was planning on taking 2-3 months of just getting back in the gym in the gi and having fun training again. These last 6 months, I've been training for a fight, and I just want to get better as a complete martial artist. You know, when I'm training for fights, I kind of get that tunnel vision and just in kill mode. You know, and it's hard for me to do other things. You know, I want to work on everything and get better.
This question is for Fabricio Werdum. I'll ask you in Spanish first and then I'll translate it. Fabricio, primero, mucha gente viendo la pelea dice que es un Fabricio nuevo, un estilo completamente nuevo. Y ¿cómo dices, por qué, cómo cambiaste?
He cambiado porque...
The first question is asking, people say it looks like a new Fabricio Werdum, and what has changed in his training?
He cambiado porque tengo mucha experiencia ya con esto, ¿no? Entonces entrené bastante para estar aquí otra vez. Y yo siempre he querido estar aquí. Entonces, de verdad que entrené bastante, ¿no? con mi profesor. Y tenía en mente ya que yo siempre fui bueno arriba, pero nunca he tenido la oportunidad bien de enseñar, ¿no? Que yo podía ser bueno arriba también. Que la gente, no me gusta que la gente pueda ver en internet que Fabricio es bueno solo en el suelo. Ahora la gente puede decir que yo soy bueno arriba también.
Says that he's always been confident in his stand-up and felt that he's had it, and he doesn't want people to look on the internet and say he's only good at jiu-jitsu, and wanted to be able to showcase that today. Última pregunta para ti. Hay una pelea más para Suecia el 14 de abril. ¿Querías pelear allá tú y contra quién? There's one spot left on the UFC Sweden card. Would you like to fight on that one, and if so, who?
La próxima pelea me gustaría estar en Brasil. Hace como 3 años que no voy a Brasil, entonces me gustaría pelear en São Paulo. Si me dan la oportunidad, me iba a encantar porque tengo muchos fans ahí y mucha gente me está esperando ahí. A lo mejor tú puedes pelear ahí, ¿no?
Says that he'd prefer to go back to Brazil and fight in Brazil. He hasn't fought there in 3 years, and preferably in Sao Paulo. Said, I could fight on the card instead. ¿Quién quieres pelear? ¿Contra quién quieres?
Yo nunca he elegido ningún luchador, pero lo que me dé UFC, lo que diga ellos, yo peleo, no hay problema.
Asking who he wants to fight, and says whoever the UFC puts in front of me. Gracias.
We need a translator for the translator.
This question is for Josh. You mentioned prior to this fight that you thought you would beat Carlos Condit easily. Did you watch the fight? Do you still feel that way? And is that a fight that you would want?
Definitely. I think there's a little bit of history with us, and we were supposed to fight tonight. So, you know, I'm down.
And a question for Steven. You mentioned to me that this was in your top 3 knockouts. I wondered, what were the other 2?
Well, definitely, you know, fighting in the UFC and knocking, you know, my opponent out in that fashion. This was, I definitely ranked this, you know, top of the list. But, you know, I've knocked people out with that same combination. You know, the jab cross roundhouse, we call it the money maker. But, you know, I've knocked a lot of people out with that combo, but this is definitely the top just because, you know, it's in the UFC. And I don't know, man, it was fun, so.
Question for both Carlos and Dana White. Carlos, you know, it wasn't obvious when you started the fight that there was a game plan to counterpunch and get away from the cage wall and all those kind of things. Brilliant 3rd and 4th rounds. It was still a very close fight, and you know, people are divided over the decision. Would you consider having a rematch with Nick Diaz with GSP out to November? And can I ask Dana White that afterwards as well, please?
Like between now and November?
Yep.
I don't know. I haven't even thought about that at all. Like I didn't, like from my standpoint, where, you know, being in the cage, I didn't think it was all that close. You know, I felt like I dominated almost every round. You know, he did take my back there at the end, and you know, maybe won that round. But I think for the most part, I picked him apart.
No, I don't know, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Dana, hello.
Yep.
Yeah.
UFC on Fox had 6 million viewers. You know, the last UFC on Fox had 6 million viewers. UFC in Brazil had 60 million viewers. You know.
Yeah.
My grandmother watched the UFC in Brazil. You know. I'm not kidding. It's
I know.
true.
I love it, man.
You know.
I love it.
What do you think about that? Like, because like the sport in US is not that big, like in Brazil. You know.
Yeah, no, I love it. We're going to probably fill a soccer stadium too. Think about in the short amount of time that we've been in Brazil, we've accomplished more there than we have 10 years everywhere else. It's unbelievable. It's on fire, and you know, to go into that country and pull the numbers we're pulling and do the things we're doing, and literally be the second biggest sport in the country, and possibly very soon the #1 sport in the country. It's amazing. I'm happy. I love it. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than.
Yeah. How are you going to make sure Chael doesn't use steroids for the next fight against Anderson?
That Chael doesn't what?
Doesn't use steroids. Steroids. I'm sorry.
Ho, one guy. I'm having like an ear problem over here, and it's like, huh? Steroids. Okay. Yeah. Well, he's got to get tested. He gets tested just like everybody else does. And the thing is with Chael, it's this testosterone replacement therapy that we've talked about, and I talked about the other day at the press conference. You have to make sure that these guys' levels are where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. You know, like it's bad to the sport.
I understand. No, me too.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. We'll do one more question. Who's got another question?
Carlos, I wanted to, obviously you need to decide whether or not you're going to wait for the chance to fight GSP, but if you do decide to wait, I'd like to get your thoughts on potentially facing him. How much have you envisioned that fight in your mind? I mean, he's the one holding the belt. As you were making your way up the ladder, how much thought have you given to that fight already?
Well, if you remember, I trained for that fight. You know, just a few months ago, I was, slated to fight George, and it would just kind of be back to training the way we were training, and doing a similar game plan, and seeing if skills that I've acquired along the way are going to fit into that, and it's an honor to be possibly fighting George for my next fight. I started out just liking to fight, and I love what I do, and to be on this stage and be competing against the best in the world, I couldn't ask for anything more.
What do you believe will be the difference? I mean, a lot of people have challenged him for the belt over the last few years. I mean, what do you think that you have to offer? Why is your style of going to be the one that beats him?
Like I said earlier, I like to create chaos. George's a very technical fighter. He likes to keep things pretty cut and dry. I like to mix it up. I like to throw from weird angles no matter where the fight goes. Hit you with punches, hit you with elbows, even if I'm on the ground. I'm trying to not only chip away at you physically, but break you mentally. And that's pretty. That's what I do. And I think a lot of guys have had problems with that in the past, and I've only gotten better.
All right, our next pay-per-view, UFC 144, February 26th, going back to Japan. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it. Have a good night.